We're diving headfirst into a psychic battle royale.
Oh, this is going to be fun.
We're talking the ultimate showdown of psychic powers from different universes.
Love it. The listener sent in an awesome list.
Yeah, we're talking 17 psychic powerhouses all ranked.
This is my kind of list.
The goal today is to figure out who would come out on top.
Right, and why.
And why. So why don't we just get right to it?
Yeah, let's dive in.
All right, so we've got some interesting contenders on this list. Some that I think might have a few people scratching their heads.
Yeah, for sure. When you're talking about a psychic battle royale, you're not just looking at who's got the coolest powers.
Right, it's about strategy. It's about how those powers match up against each other.
It's like a giant game of psychic chess. And sometimes even a character's personality can completely change the game. It's so true. Okay, so let's start with a Pokemon that I think a lot of people are familiar with. Hypno.
Yeah, Hypno, known for that hypnotic gaze.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Super effective, right?
Yeah, against weaker minds, sure. But against someone like Professor X, a seasoned telepath like that?
Or it'd be over before it even began.
Exactly. Hypno wouldn't stand a chance.
So Hypno was outclassed before the battle even begins. What about Mr. Mime? Those barriers and illusions seem pretty handy.
You'd think so. Right. But against the raw psionic energy of some of these heavy hitters.
Like, who are we talking about here?
I'm talking about like StarCraft's Archon.
Oh, right. Okay, yeah, that's a whole other level.
We're talking pure psionic energy. It'd be like trying to stop a tidal wave with a sheet of paper.
And Jean Grey, too, right? She can probably just fling those barriers right back at him.
Oh, absolutely. Her telekinesis. Forget about it.
Okay, so Mr. Mime is out. What about Jinx? Ice and psychic powers. That's a pretty cool combo.
It sounds cool, right? But again, you've got to look at the big picture.
Good. Jinx wouldn't really hold up against the top contenders.
Not really. I mean, think about Alakazam, another Pokemon, but way faster, way more powerful.
And Alakazam's psychic powers are off the charts.
Off the charts. Jinx wouldn't even have time to blink.
It's like bringing a snow pea to a gunfight.
Pretty much. Or think about those StarCraft High Templar. One psionic storm, that's it. Game over.
So raw power and speed are crucial in this battle royale. Okay, what about this? Cindy from The Boys. Now her powers are a little less conventional.
Oh, yeah, Cindy. Now those aneurysm powers are scary.
Terrifying.
Imagine that right in the middle of a psychic duel, your opponent just drops dead from an aneurysm.
Brutal. So how effective would that be in this showdown?
Well, here's the thing. Her powers, they rely on eye contact, right? And a lack of strong mental defenses.
So any seasoned telepath
would shut her down before she even knew what hit her. Someone like Professor X, he'd be inside her head before she could even blink.
It's a psychic back alley brawl, and she brought a plastic spoon.
Exactly. You need to be able to defend your mind in this game.
All right, so Cindy's out. Now this next one might surprise some people. Matilda Wormwood.
Yeah, she's a fascinating case. Telekinetic prodigy, right?
Right. She can move objects with her mind like it's nothing.
Which is incredible, but you put her up against someone like Mewtwo?
Oh, man. Mewtwo's on a whole other level.
A whole other level. It's like comparing a firecracker to a nuclear bomb.
So even raw telekinetic power isn't always enough. It's about experience and control.
And facing down opponents who can do the same thing, but 10 times better.
Speaking of powerhouses, what about Executor? 3 heads, triple the psychic power.
You'd think so, right? But here's the thing about Executor. He's big, he's slow.
Not exactly known for its speed.
No, not at all. And in a battle royale where everyone's zipping around with teleportation and super speed.
Executor's gonna be a sitting duck.
A sitting duck with a very large headache. Because here's the other thing. Psychic powers work both ways.
You're saying Executor could end up with 3 times the migraine.
Exactly. 3 times the pain.
Ouch. Okay, so Executor is out. Now let's talk about someone who gives me the creeps. Mindstorm, that nightmare manipulation power.
Oh, now that's just messed up.
Right, like how do you even defend against that?
It's a tough one for sure. But here's the thing. Mindstorm, he needs time. He needs concentration to really dig into your deepest fears.
So in a fast-paced battle,
he's not going to last long. Someone like Alakazam with that speed and precision, Mindstorm wouldn't even know what hit him.
Okay, that makes sense. So moving on, we're getting into some serious contenders now. Let's talk about StarCraft. High Templar.
Oh, yeah, the High Templar. Now they can bring the pain.
Psionic storms, right?
Exactly. Imagine a psychic shockwave ripping through the battlefield, vaporizing anything in its path.
Devastating. But are they enough to secure a win?
Well, here's the thing about the High Templar. Incredibly powerful, yes, but also incredibly fragile.
So glass cannons.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
One wrong move and they're toast.
They'd need some serious protection to survive this showdown.
Yeah, they'd need a guardian angel. Speaking of which, what about their leader, Tassadar?
Oh, interesting, Tassadar. He's more of a strategic mastermind, right?
Absolutely. Brilliant tactician, controls the flow of battle with his psionics and his leadership.
So how would he fare in this no-holds-barred psychic brawl?
He'd be a force to be reckoned with, especially against less experienced opponents, but against some of the powerhouses we've got higher up on this list.
Like, who are we talking about?
I'm talking about your Kerrigans, your Mewtwo's, even your Martian Manhunter. They could overpower him.
So even brains and experience have their limits.
Oh, absolutely. Sometimes raw power just trumps everything else.
Okay, so Tassadar, while a formidable opponent, might not make it to the top.
Yeah.
What about the Archon? Now we're talking about raw psionic energy, right?
Oh, yeah. The Archon is a fusion of two Templar, so you're talking double the power.
Double the power, double the...
Well, that's the thing. They are powerful, no question, but they're also big targets.
And not exactly known for their grace and agility.
Not exactly. Someone like Kerrigan, with her speed and her cunning, she could make mincemeat of an Archon.
So all that power, and they still might not make it to the top.
It's a tough game, this psychic battle royale. You need more than just raw power.
Okay, now we can't talk about psychic powerhouses without mentioning Alakazam. This Pokemon is practically synonymous with psychic ability.
Yeah, Alakazam is a beast.
We're talking off the charts, IQ, lightning fast reflexes.
Teleports, throws psychic energy around like it's nothing.
Sounds almost unbeatable. So what's the catch?
The catch is, much like the High Templar, Alakazam is fragile.
Physically, you mean?
Yeah. All that brain power, all that psychic might. But one good hit from, say, Martian Manhunter, and it's lights out.
It's like the classic saying, brains over brawn until brawn gets involved.
Exactly. You got to have a little bit of both to survive in this arena.
All right, moving right along, let's talk about Zeratul, StarCraft's psionic ninja. Stealth, agility, psionic blades. Where does he fit into all of this?
Now, Zeratul, he's where things start to get really interesting. He's got this incredible blend of stealth agility and those deadly psionic blades.
He's like a psychic ghost assassin.
Exactly. He could take out an entire squad before they even knew he was there. As formidable as Zeratul is, he's still vulnerable to opponents who can control minds from a distance or unleash those massive area of effect attacks.
Just someone like Professor X could shut him down before he even got close.
Potentially. Or imagine him getting caught in the middle of a psionic storm. Not a pretty picture.
Stealth and blades only get you so far in a psychic brawl of this magnitude. Which brings us to our top 5. The Psychic Titans, the Legends. This is where the real fun begins.
Right. This is where even the smallest weakness can be exploited with deadly consequences.
The stakes are higher than ever.
Absolutely. These contenders are the cream of the psychic crop, each with the power to reshape reality with a thought.
Okay, so let's kick things off with a character who's a force of nature in her own right. Kerrigan, the Queen of Blades. We're talking part psionic, part Zerg, all around intimidating. How did she stack up against the big guns?
Kerrigan, she's a fascinating case. She's a master manipulator, able to control minds with her psionics and then turn around and rip you apart with her Zerg abilities.
She doesn't play around.
Not at all. But could she take the top spot?
That's the big question.
It's tough to say. I mean, against some contenders, sure, she'd wipe the floor with them.
But against someone like Professor X?
That's a tough one. He could potentially turn her own powers against her.
Oh, man. That's dark.
And then you've got Mewtwo. It's cosmic energy. It's on a whole other level.
It's like comparing a planet to a star.
Exactly. Kerrigan's strong, no doubt.
Yeah.
But she's out of her league here.
All right, so Kerrigan, while a powerhouse in her own right, might not have what it takes to claim the top spot. Speaking of powerhouses, up next is a character who's practically a walking encyclopedia of superpowers. Martian Manhunter, telepathy, telekinesis, shapeshifting flight, near invulnerability. Is there anything this guy can't do?
It's almost unfair, right? He's like the ultimate psychic Swiss Army knife.
So in a battle royale setting, that versatility has got to be a huge advantage.
Oh, absolutely. He can adapt to pretty much any combat situation. Morph his body, read minds, unleash telekinetic blasts, you name it, he can probably do it.
So is he unbeatable? Is there anything that can take down Martian Manhunter?
Well, there is one thing. Fire.
Fire.
Really? Yeah. It's a primal fear for his people.
Oh, okay.
Deeply ingrained in their biology.
So a strategically placed flamethrower could turn the tide.
Potentially. Or an opponent who can manipulate heat. That'd be a bad day for Martian Manhunter.
It just goes to show even the most powerful beings have their weaknesses. Okay, let's talk about a contender whose power is as awe-inspiring as it's terrifying. Jean Grey. When we're talking about untapped psychic potential, she's practically the poster child.
Oh, yeah. Jean Grey, she's a whole other level.
Right.
We're talking about someone who can move objects on a planetary scale with a thought.
Planetary scale? That's insane.
Right. And those telepathic shields, she can block out even the most skilled mind readers. And then there are the psychic blasts. We're talking about the kind of power that could level mountains.
So what's the problem? Why isn't she ranked higher?
The problem with Jean is Jean.
What do you mean?
She's afraid of her own power, afraid of losing control and unleashing devastation on a scale even she can't comprehend.
So it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. The fear holds her back.
Exactly. And in a battle royale where holding back could get you killed, that fear is a serious liability.
It's a shame, because if she could unleash her full potential, she'd be unstoppable.
No question. But that's the thing about psychic powers. It's not just about raw ability, it's about control. It's about mastery over your own mind.
And Jean Grey, she hasn't quite mastered her own mind yet. Okay, so Jean Grey, incredible power, but held back by her own fears. Which brings us to a contender who proves that you don't need to be a telekinetic powerhouse to dominate in a psychic showdown. Professor X, he's the embodiment of mind over matter, a strategic mastermind who can control minds with a thought.
Professor X, now there's a contender who doesn't need brute force to win a fight.
He's playing 4D chess while everyone else is playing checkers.
Exactly. He's got this incredible understanding of how minds work, how to exploit weaknesses, manipulate emotions, even control bodies.
It's almost like he's playing a video game and everyone else is just a bunch of NPCs.
And he's got all the cheat codes.
So he could potentially win this entire thing without lifting a finger, just pure mental domination.
In theory, yes. He could turn his opponents against each other, make them fight his battles for him. The possibilities are endless, but...
There's always a but, isn't there?
In this case, the but is his physical body.
Right. He's still vulnerable to physical attacks.
Exactly. One well-placed bullet or one good punch from any of the remaining contenders, and it's game over for the professor.
It's a classic case of mind over matter until matter catches up. Which brings us to our final contender, the one who claims the top spot in this epic psychic showdown, Mewtwo. This Pokemon isn't just a powerful psychic, it's the result of years of genetic manipulation and rigorous training, specifically designed to be the ultimate psychic weapon.
We're talking about psychic power taken to its absolute limit.
Mewtwo is the embodiment of go big or go home. So what puts him over the edge?
It's a combination of factors. First, you've got the raw power. Its telepathic and telekinetic abilities are off the charts. They dwarf even the most gifted psychics.
So he's got the power. But what else?
He's also incredibly intelligent. He's got a strategic mind that rivals even Professor X.
So he's got the brains and the brawn of the psychic world.
Exactly. And let's not forget that origin story. The struggle for identity and purpose that fuels its incredible power.
It's like the classic hero's journey, but with a lot more psychic energy.
Great. This isn't just a psychic powerhouse. It's a being with the intelligence and drive to match. No wonder it takes the top spot.
This has been mind-blowing. From psychic slingshots to telepathic puppet masters to environmental curveballs, it's amazing how much depth there is to explore when it comes to psychic powers. And that's what makes these deep dives so much fun.
Absolutely. We get to take these incredible characters from different universes, throw them into these hypothetical scenarios, and see what happens.
It's like a giant thought experiment, but with a lot more psychic energy. To all our listeners out there, thank you for joining us on this journey through the mind-bending world of psychic power. Remember, there's always more to explore.
Keep those minds sharp.